you gone? Where have 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 you gone?
That is the question everyone will be asking. Where have you gone? If you're successful in disappearing, there will be no answer for them. They won't know if you're the victim of crime, were in an accident, or just walked away from your life. But before they can ask that question, you'll have to decide where you're going. And once you get there, how will you find the basic things you need? Food, shelter, a job, a new identity. As you learned in our last episode in this series, creating a new identity is not easy. In high school, a fake driver's license may have gotten you a six-pack of beer, but as an adult, you need many more documents to prove who you are. In this episode, we'll explore where you might go to hide and how to deal with the depression that will undoubtedly follow. It's no surprise that you'll end up living someplace you don't know, among people you've never met. You will be absolutely alone and must depend upon your creativity and wits to get by. Many people can't do it, and they end up either going back to their old life or living on the street. Those who voluntarily vanish live a lonely life. They must choose friends carefully. They must articulate a background that is difficult to verify but sounds completely plausible, like any good scam artist does. All of this creates an envelope of loneliness, and it has a profound impact on those who experience it. I'm Jim Grinstead, and today we'll talk about where to get lost and the experience of loneliness people experience when they get there. Let's begin with relocation. If you want to escape from everyone, head for a dense forest. Build a cabin by yourself on land that you rent for cash. You won't have internet, maybe not even electricity. Heat will come from wood fires, and refrigeration will be a luxury unless you can find a suitable cave. And forget about a phone. Who you call can create red flags for those looking for you. The same holds true for those who call you. A burner phone might help, but the emphasis is on might. If you don't want to be found, then you must fully commit to that goal. Don't consider places where you've lived before. It's one of the first places searchers will look. Here's AI voice Jeff reading from an article on Forbes about living on a desert island, something not unlike building a cabin in the woods.
Scottish sailor Alexander Selkirk, the probable real-life inspiration for the fictional Robinson Crusoe, spent 4 years as a castaway on a remote South Pacific island in the early 18th century, scavenging shellfish and hunting goats. While his experience wasn't exactly common, getting stranded was a regular danger of seagoing life in his time, common enough that the goats he ate had been left by previous sailors. Mongolia is a favorite off-the-grid destination. Its capital, Ulaanbaatar, is one of the few in Asia without a McDonald's or a Starbucks, according to Jalsa Urubshuro, a Mongolian-American who founded the travel company Nomadic Expeditions. An hour outside the capital, families sleep in jeers or round tents and live off the land. It's like going back in time, says Urubshuro. With only 600 miles of paved roads and more than 600,000 square miles, and a population of fewer than 3 million, the opportunities for getting lost on purpose are many. Also on our list is Papua New Guinea, between the Coral Sea and the South Pacific, where cell phone coverage is limited to the capital and a few towns, and the sparse road network and rugged terrain make air travel the best way to get around. Many parts of the island are covered by heavy jungle canopy, so even getting a satellite signal can be tricky. And not to worry, officials swear that lingering cannibalism ended decades ago.
My name is Bill Huffman, and I am a former Cleveland news producer, and I am now the host of the podcast, Who Killed? I began the show focusing on the unsolved murder of Amy Mihalovic, and now each week I explore a different case with a focus on some of the victims who don't get the attention they deserve. I have a deep catalog of over 225 episodes, so there is a guarantee there will be something for you. Who Killed is an evergreen podcasts, killer podcasts, and slow burn media production. Subscribe today wherever you get your favorite shows.
Few choose complete isolation. The British publication The Independent says many missing persons in the UK stay close to their original homes, although they do take care to change their appearance. The newspaper's information came from a report on the geographies of missing people. It was based on face-to-face interviews with 45 adults who went missing in London or Scotland between 2009 and 2011, and who either returned home voluntarily or were traced. The report also said the reasons for going missing include traumatic experiences and strong emotions of being unable to cope, feeling trapped, powerless to talk about or share their feelings. Three-quarters of those who had gone missing were diagnosed with mental health problems, and 1 in 3 had attempted suicide. The best places to go will be different for everyone. There's no one place that's perfect. If there were, it would be at the top of the list for those looking for those who vanished. But choosing where to go is the most important decision to make when people decide to vanish. Once they've arrived, they must deal with the pain of loneliness.
24 hours ago, I found out the person that I'd been dating and seeing for the last 6 months is a con man.
That is my sister Emma. Andrew Tonks's lies had been so convincing, she'd invested $300,000 with him. However, the tables were about to turn on Andrew. What he didn't know was that Emma had discovered his real identity. But to get any chance of justice, Emma had to act like it was business as usual. Coming up in this series,
And that's when murder, all this stuff goes through my mind. I'm really, really scared.
I'm assuming Sarah has watched too much Netflix and figures I've been defrauding you. Couldn't be further from the truth.
That's what this was, a real-life story that seems so unbelievable, but it was actually true.
a true story that all starts with one simple swipe to the right. I'm Sarah Ferris.
And I'm Emma Ferris, and this is my story, Conning the Con.
Loneliness is the major reason people walk away from witness protection programs. Symptoms include feelings of isolation, low energy, difficulty concentrating, and difficulty sleeping. In extreme cases, it can cause symptoms of anxiety and panic attacks. Depression is common, including feeling homesick, isolated, sad, or hopeless. As life stressors go, moving is number 3 among the top 5. The list from university hospitals also includes stress that comes from the death of a loved one, divorce, major illness or injury, and job loss. The phenomenon is so common that there's a name for it: relocation depression. Psychologist Liesl Voss gave up a comfortable life and moved to Mauritius to teach and for the adventure of moving to a new country.
First night I spent in Mauritius was possibly the worst of my life. I hardly slept, waking every couple of hours with a feeling of utter dread in my stomach. What on earth had I done, giving up a successful and a happy life to settle on an island in the middle of nowhere where I knew no one? But when we are feeling stretched, alone, and scared in the new place, it's just about impossible to connect with that craving for adventure and independence that brought us here in the first place.
Voss has more than 20 years' experience as a psychologist, both at Rhodes University and African Leadership University. She made her remarks as part of a TEDx talk. Voss moved for adventure. Others moved to escape. For whatever reason, Ireland ranks high in the number of people who vanish. One private investigator told the Irish newspaper, The Journal, that people who go missing for non-criminal reasons fall into 3 categories: people who've been abducted, people who die by suicide, and people who make a conscious decision to go missing or disappear. AI voice Teresa reads more from the Journal's interview with the private detective who asked to remain anonymous.
A high percentage of people who intentionally go missing leave Ireland to live in the UK or a European city, the private detective explained. Over their 26 years working in the area, the PI said they found these people to be free spirits who are often living in homeless shelters, guest houses, or similar temporary accommodation. Painting a picture of a standard case, the investigator said people were unlikely to be working in a steady job and that they didn't usually stay at any specific address for a long period of time. Family members are told at the start of each case that there is no guarantee the person will be found. Even if they are found, they may still decline any communication. The family may live in hope that the missing person will return home someday, unexpectedly, or as a result of their becoming ill or having some other need to reach out to the family, the PI said. They are usually spoken about and reflected upon in a very loving and caring manner. Although it is heartbreaking for the family involved, knowing that their child or sibling has cut all ties and contact with them, they often resign themselves to the situation over time and come to a level of some acceptance.
Next in this series, you'll meet Maureen, a woman whose husband walked out the door without explanation. She only knew he was alive because his lawyer contacted her, saying he wanted a divorce. To this day, she has no idea what happened to him, what his new life is like, or where he is. If you enjoy the show, please give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. You hear this all the time on other podcasts because it helps people find us and become subscribers. Your ratings really do make a difference. And don't forget to head over to our website, scamsandcons.com, where you can chat with other fans and get more stories about scams, many of which are going on right now. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thanks for listening.
Scams and Cons is a member of the Evergreen Podcast Network.
You might be surprised to know that not all serial killers are straight cisgender white men, and the victims of true crime are not a monolith either. She's Wendy and I'm Beth, and together we host Fruit Loops Serial Killers of Color, a true crime podcast.
Together we take deep dives into the true crime stories about marginalized and minoritized perps and victims that often go untold.
We also provide the context and nuance that these stories deserve. At Fruit Loops, we're serving up true crime with a side of history, society, culture, and some fun.
Listen to Fruit Loops Serial Killers of Color on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.